Alright, time to do UFC 119 prediction video. And, stupid camera. Get over here. I'm going to also give my thoughts on the Ultimate Fight Night and the Ultimate Fighter because, to be quite honest, I don't know. I'm just less than enthused with this UFC 119 card, and it's not necessarily because I think it's a bad card. They're just matches that I'm not in any way going to go and do detail with. Like this one, Mark Hunt versus McCorkle. I honestly can't remember his first name. I'm looking at the UFC page, and they don't have his name, his first name. I know I looked it up. Anyways, I'm not overly excited for the debut of McCorkle, and I'm not all that excited for the debut of Mark Hunt because Mark Hunt is not what he used to be. I don't think, anyways. I'll get his first name just so I actually remember it. Sean McCorkle, that's who it is. Both guys are guys who are going to have to cut probably to make the weight, which is interesting. Haven't really seen anything of McCorkle, to be quite honest with you. And I didn't particularly... And after looking at his Fight Finder as to who he's fought, I kind of decided I didn't really want to. And as a result, I'm picking Mark Hunt, but I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that pick, to be honest. Julio Paulino, TJ Grant. I'm giving a slight edge to TJ Grant. Could just be some Canadian bias in me, but I'm not a big supporter of Paulino. He's definitely a UFC level fighter, but I just think that TJ Grant had that little advantage in both the wrestling and striking areas. Paulino might be a slightly better grappler, but I don't think it'll be enough. Grant's a pretty difficult guy to submit, so I'm going with TJ Grant probably by unanimous decision. Steve Lopez, Waylon Lowe. Not looking forward to this fight in any way, shape, or form. Steve Lopez is a very fragile fighter, and I would probably just cut him if I were the UFC. And Waylon Lowe is just not good enough to be in the UFC, and I'm going to go with Steve Lopez via something. Thiago Tavares versus, I believe this is the awesomely awesome Pat Oudenwood, I think is how you say it. I have seen him fight before, but it's one of those things where if you don't know the guy he's fighting, it's really hard to gauge his skills. As a result, I really don't know his skills. That being said, I have to go with Tavares, mostly because I can't really stand the awesomely awesome nickname. But also I think Thiago Tavares, just from what I'm seeing, I think he's a higher level grappler. And he is the type of guy who will pull guard to get you to the ground if need be, and I think he'll submit Pat Oudenwood. Next we have Matt Mitrione versus the Mexicutioner, Joey Beltran. Gotta go with Joey Beltran. I'm not a big believer in Matt Mitrione, even after the win over Kimbo. He's a big guy. He's got a fair bit of athleticism. He's learning fast. He went to a proper camp in Rufus Sport. But that being said, I think the Mexicutioner can take him down. I think he can control him reasonably well, and I think he can basically finish him. I mean, we did see how you could beat Mitrione on the Ultimate Fighter, and it wasn't by exactly great competition. And I don't know. I'm becoming a reasonable fan of Joey Beltran. Then we have CB Dalloway, Joe Dirksen. My natural version of CB Dalloway and my natural rooting for Canadian fighters caused me to go with Dirksen. I paused because I realized that I was doing that, and I think it's a close fight, but I still have to kind of go with Dirksen. Dirksen has looked really good as of late. Like he's really got his training on track. And CB Dalloway still... I'm still waiting for him to impress me. I mean, he wins, but he still doesn't impress me. He still doesn't make me want to really buy into the hype. I'm going to go with Joe Dirksen with a second or third round submission. CB is somewhat prone to those. Melvin Guillard, Jeremy Stephens. I saw this fight. I got really hyped for it, and then I kind of got less hyped for it. And the reason is Melvin Guillard's turned into a bit of a wrestler lately, and he is trained with Jackson Crew, which means he'll probably adopt a good game plan, which is sound. I have actually no problem with that. It's just that I kind of did want to see these two guys bang. And during the stand-up exchanges, I think this fight will be very exciting. That being said, I think Melvin will take down Jeremy Stephens. I think his top game in terms of just control and the ability to take people down is actually quite underrated. And I think Melvin will take a unanimous decision. That being said, if there's ever a prediction I've wanted to be wrong on, this has got to be up on the list, because seeing these two guys stand and bang would be something to see. It would be really exciting. Evan Dunham versus Sean Shirk. I was really thinking Shirk because I thought he would be the better wrestler. That being said, Evan Dunham has repetitively been able to surprise me. I look back at, for example, the Evan Dunham fight with Tyson Griffin. I look back at Tyson Griffin versus Sean Shirk. I think these two guys are very, very close in terms of skills in every aspect of the game, other than I think Dunham has much better offensive grappling. But I don't think he can submit Sean Shirk. Honestly, this is a bit of an X factor. I think whoever can prove to be the dominant wrestler in this fight is going to win this fight. Because if one guy starts getting the better of the stand-up, the guy who's not is going to probably go for a takedown. And if Dunham can keep it on the feet, and if it's Dunham, and Dunham's the dominant wrestler, he can keep it on the feet. If the guy starts getting beat up on the feet, becomes the dominant wrestler, I think he can take down the other guy and control him. If I had to go, I kind of have to make a pick, and I'm going to go with Evan Dunham just because he's just finding ways to win, and Sean Shirk is getting older. So I'm going to go with Evan Dunham, a bit of youth versus experience here with the youth coming out on top. Matt Serra versus Chris Lytle in a rematch. The first fight was pretty boring. Chris Lytle managed to nullify Matt Serra's wrestling game. I think the difference at this point is Matt Serra's gotten better with his hands. Still not very good. I think Chris Lytle's still the better striker. Chris Lytle's stand-up has gone downhill a bit. His ground game's gotten better, but I just don't see him submitting Matt Serra. And I see that even if he does outstrike Serra, I don't particularly see him finishing him, because Lytle's never been the guy to knock you out with one punch, I don't think. He's a combination knockout artist. And I could see Matt Serra taking him down, holding him down, and winning it that way. It's an interesting fight, but I gotta go with Matt Serra winning in somewhat similar fashion to the first fight. Nogueira versus Bader. Holy moly. Oh, I went back and forth on this one, and right now I still don't have a solid pick. But here we go. I'm going to talk through it, and you see what I convinced myself to do here. Bader is the better wrestler. If he wants to keep it standing, he can. If he wants to take it down, he can. The issue is, Nogueira's a better striker than Bader is. Because Bader's striking, it's powerful, it's got decent hand speed and everything, but I just don't see it as being that technically sound. And as a result, I think Nogueira can box him up on the feet. If he takes Nogueira down, Nogueira should be able to submit him. That being said, we saw the fight with Jason Brills, and admittedly that was a late change, and I think Nogueira is going to be much more ready for a wrestler this time. That doesn't change the fact that Jason Brills was able to nullify a lot of what Nogueira does. That being said, I'm going to go with Antonio Rogerio Nogueira by submission, late second, early third round, because I think Bader's not the level of counter-grappler that Jason Brills is. And I think he will lose the fight on the feet and eventually have to look at take it down. Frank Mir versus Mirko Cro Cop. Cro Cop, I've been saying, I think mentally isn't quite in it. He does look mentally in it this time, which I'm very happy for. That being said, his takedown defense has not been quite as seamless as it used to be. People have been able to take him down. I think Frank Mir will be able to take him down, and I think there's really not a lot of doubt in my mind as to whether Frank Mir is the better grappler of the two. That being said, Frank Mir has never been really big on getting hit. Which, I mean, I guess no one is, but by fighter standards, he has an aversion to getting hit. And Cro Cop is going to hit him. That being said, I'm going to go with Frank Mir. I think he's, at this point in their careers, the better of the two fighters. I think he'll be able to take him down and probably submit him or pound him out. I'm going to go with the second round. Mir is a very, very good grappler from the top. And I do see him probably pulling off a submission. So that's the card. Thoughts on the fight night from last night, or 2 nights ago, if you're watching this on Friday. Rosimar Paul Harris, what are you thinking by complaining about a guy greasing in the middle of the fight? That was impressive. Efren Escudero let me down quite a bit. He needs to work on game planning a lot. Picks didn't do very well, but a couple of them kind of went like as I thought they would, and just X factors didn't go my way. As for the Ultimate Fighter, let's see here, a little quick cast assessment. We have Mark Stevens in the house, a former teammate of Koscheck's. Good wrestler, good power in his hands. Spencer Page, who does appear to have some pretty solid wrestling and pretty solid striking. Nam Pham, I know Nam Pham. I think he's a little undersized for lightweight. Pretty sure he fights at 145. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's probably the most skilled fighter in the house, but I don't see him winning on the basis of just that size problem. Andy Main didn't really get much of a look at him. Jonathan Brookins and Seiko Shavidian, or Shavistian, something like that, something Armenian, respectively a wrestler player who I think has a good chance to win this, and a judo player who I think also is looking pretty good, although I do believe Jonathan Brookins is also a 145, or for some reason that's registering in my head. Jeff Lance is a pretty solid fighter. Alex Canceres, or Bruce Leroy, is a good fighter, but he doesn't take punishment very well. He doesn't have very good cardio if you watch his other fights. Michael Johnson's a solid wrestler. Aaron Wilkinson, same. Kyle Watson's a game journeyman. Savak Maginkian. I had not seen him before, but he beat a pretty solid fighter in J.J. Ambrosi, even though J.J. didn't look very good. Cody McKenzie, master of the guillotine, is also in there, and Dane Sayers, who beat Ariel Sexton, another solid fighter with a rear naked choke. A lot of the guys I knew lost. It's quite weird. We got a lot of unknowns coming in there, like T.J. O'Brien lost, Mike Budnick lost, admittedly it was to Nam Pham. That's another semi-big name who lost out, and J.J. Ambrosi and Ariel Sexton. So it's a bit weird. If I had to, I'm not really sure who I'm going to make a pick, other than, surprisingly enough, I would like to be on Koscheck's team, looking at the coaches he brought in, because he brought in, like, just listen to these coaches. Javier Mendez, Bob Cook, Dave Camarillo, Daniel Cormier are all on his team, along with Teddy Lucio, which sounds familiar, but I can't place it. GSP's team's fine. I mean, it's very solid. It's not like you would be having a problem over there. I mean, there's Phil Nurse, there's Firas Zahabi, I think that's how you say his last name. The primary GSP's primary coach over at TriStar, John Danaher, Sean Williams, John Charles Skarbowski. It's a pretty solid coaching core in itself, but I think Koscheck's team does have the slight advantage. Also, I'm thinking Koscheck might be the better coach. This is one of those things where people kind of confuse this better fighter with better coach. And I think if you want a real proof of that, proof of the pudding there, watch the BJ Penn Jens Pulver season, because Jens Pulver is a much better coach and BJ is not, but he is the better fighter. So, there you go. We'll have to see how the teams shake up. Early on, favorites I'll kind of throw out for you are Jonathan Brookins and Nam Pham, if they can come up with, if they can counter the size disadvantage they're facing. I'm going to just double check to make sure that they indeed do more or less fight at featherweight. Yes, they both are featherweights. Although Jonathan Brookins is 6 feet tall. Holy mackerel. And Seiko Shavidian is another guy that I would kind of look at as a possible. Spencer Page as well, or Spencer Page. Anyways, that's my, I suppose, rough breakdown, and my thoughts on the upcoming fight card and the last fight card.